The Oakland Raiders breaking some news here, signing former number 2 overall pick Marcus Mariota, who was displaced as a backup after Ryan Tannehill jumped in. And now Marcus Mariota kind of hoping to pull off that exact same move on former second-round pick and Raiders franchise quarterback Derek Carr. Mariota, the number 1 ranked quarterback on Raiders GM Mike Mayock's draft board when he came out of the draft. Will Brinson here with the Pick 6 podcast crew. John Breach, Ryan Wilson, Sean Wagner, McGuff. Breach, I'll toss it to you first. What do you make of this Mariota move? We're obviously on the podcast big Derek Carr fans, but you got to worry a little bit about what might happen here if Mariota comes in and takes his job.
Yeah, Brent, I think you hit the nail on the head. The irony here is just dripping that this is exactly what happened to Mariota in Tennessee last season, where they brought in Ryan Tannehill. Hey, this is your backup. Don't worry about it. He's not going to play. All of a sudden, Mariota on the bench. Tannehill's taking the AFC title game, which I'm sure Jon Gruden would love if Mariota led the Las Vegas Raiders to the AFC title game in 2020. Here's the thing, is I think it's pretty clear that Jon Gruden wasn't completely thrilled with Derek Carr in 2019. Derek Carr put up some fantastic numbers, but he doesn't love to throw the ball downfield. It looked like it was irritating Jon Gruden, and it was getting to the point where you feel like he kind of wanted a new quarterback. It looks like they got off that Tom Brady, out of the Tom Brady sweepstakes, and Gruden probably thought, you know what, let's bring in a non-threatening quarterback who could maybe compete with Derek Carr just in case I want to bench Derek Carr. And that's exactly what Marcus Mariota is. He's non-threatening. We probably don't expect him to win the job if there's any sort of competition. So Derek Carr will go into the season as a starter. But if he starts to struggle in week 3, 4, or 5, like Mariota did in Tennessee last year, all of a sudden, Gruden can put Derek Carr on the bench and put in Marcus Mariota. So basically, this is an insurance policy for Jon Gruden, and I like it.
I'm not even convinced that the situation is such that Derek Carr is going to be guaranteed the starting job by the time the start of the season rolls around. And John, you sort of touched on it. Last year when Tannehill was signed in Tennessee, everybody, Ryan Tannehill, Marcus Mariota, Mike Vrabel, Arthur Smith, they all said, listen, this is Marcus Mariota's job. So that in July, August, September, right up until the moment he was benched, I don't expect Mike Mayock and Jon Gruden to come out and say from now until the start of the season, don't worry, this is Derek Carr's job. Derek Carr, you have nothing to worry about. Derek Carr is looking over his shoulder right now, and I suspect he'll be doing so right until the moment that Mariota takes his job. Here's the thing. I actually love this deal for the Raiders. I think Marcus Mariota has been beset by injuries. I think that's been the biggest sort of takeaway from his inability to get over that hump and some of those head-scratching mistakes he would make week in and week out that eventually got him benched last season. But I think throughout his career, he has struggled staying healthy. If he can find a way to stay healthy, I think he's a much better quarterback than what we've seen. I think he's a much better option for the Raiders than what Derek Carr gives them. Now, look, Jon Gruden likes to throw the ball down the field. I don't know if that's going to be Mariota's game, but he's a better athlete. I think he's a better quarterback when healthy, and I think this is a great move, an under-the-radar move, maybe one of these moves we come back at the end of the season and really look at and say this really changed things for the Raiders in 2020.
Yeah, I don't mind the move. For me, though, it's not a big enough upgrade over Derek Carr. And I'm a little bit disappointed because I really thought, look, if the Raiders are stuck in a division with Patrick Mahomes, they have to play him twice a year. Those are pretty much 2 losses. You got to find a franchise caliber quarterback. And I don't think either of these guys are it, quite frankly. We were talking about David Johnson earlier. I mean, Marcus Mariota's in the same boat. He has not had a quality season since 2016, and a lot of that is due to injuries. But there is reason to believe he is injury prone, and he has not been good the last couple of years. And I think the Raiders have a very clear opportunity to get out of this Derek Carr deal, save $14 million in the process, cut him, trade him. Maybe a team like the Bears would be interested in Derek Carr, who is coming off a pretty good season statistically. None of us on this podcast are fans of him. We're not going to talk about him like a top level quarterback, but the numbers did say he was pretty good. I think maybe you could have moved him via the trade market, at the very least cut him. I don't think Mariota is a good enough quarterback, though, right now for the Raiders to be able to cut Derek Carr free. And I would still like to see the Raiders at some point soon here go after a quarterback that is a lot better, that could be their franchise guy, because I don't think either of these guys are it. I don't mind it. It's not going to be expensive. It doesn't hurt to have that depth. We just saw a similar type of move seriously work out for the Titans, so there is some upside. I just don't see this as enough of an upgrade to elevate the Raiders into a playoff caliber team in 2020.
Yeah, it's interesting because remember, both Marcus Mariota and Derek Carr broke their legs on Christmas Eve 2016 in the middle of a playoff race, and on the same day, and now they're both teammates. I do think that Derek Carr and Marcus Mariota, in terms of how you put them together in a quarterback room and have them compete against each other, should have a similar chemistry to Ryan Tannehill and Marcus Mariota, in that there shouldn't be a lot of animosity. I would expect, though, I think Mariota will take this job at some point. He's got a better deep ball accuracy and a willingness to pull the trigger on downfield throws than Derek Carr does. He has just as much short field accuracy. He's more mobile, and I think he's a perfect fit with Jon Gruden's system, that West Coast passing offense that he wants to run. Plus, Mike Mayock loved him coming out of college. This is a guy who's still really young. He can be, you're going to have him for a cheap cost. You can maybe take a flyer on a quarterback in the middle of the draft. You don't have to worry about investing a first-round pick this year, and you can circle back through and try and find your guy later and maybe see how this works out. It did work out for the Titans, of course. I agree. I don't think it elevates him to a playoff team, but in the West that is a little murky, who knows what the Raiders could do. We do know they won't be going after Tom Brady, but we'll be talking about Tom Brady the rest of the week on the Pick Six podcast show here on CBS Sports HQ. Thanks for watching. For the boys, we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.